All right, lots of money involved in our next story. Last year, something in the region of 500 billion rand was spent on global sports sponsorship. Companies essentially wanting to get their logo in front of fans and obviously to be associated with winning. But is there still real value, we ask? How do you choose the properties? And mostly, how do you leverage the association? One brand that is playing prominently in this space is the financial services group Momentum. It's lent its name to the sport of cricket. Well, does it work? Where are the risks? Dani van den Berg is with us. He is head of brand at Momentum. Dani, welcome to you. You make the point that it's more than just investing money and hoping for the best. It's a science, isn't it?
It is, Jeremy. When Momentum started engaging with Cricket South Africa in terms of the sponsorship, we actually set ourselves a couple of goals, but besides actually the commercial value we wanted from it, we actually set ourselves another goal. It's actually to leave a legacy, because that's the one way of us to exhibit our values and showcase to the people who we really are and what we're about.
And I know part of that is an item of clothing that's on the desk, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Yes. But first of all, why is cricket a good fit for your brand, not opposed to, say, soccer or rugby?
Well, in terms of viewership and even people playing the game, it most probably represented our target market better than any of the other two sports. But cricket in particular also gives you a long time to speak to your clients from a viewership. That's why we've gone for the one-day cricket, because you have 7-8 hours per match where you can actually communicate to people and engage with people and about who you are and what you stand for.
All right, let's talk about the legacy strategy if we can. You make the point that marketers should be strategic when using their sponsorship spend to drive change beyond their brand, which is what you're doing with this whole legacy process. What's the blazer about?
Well, Jeremy, the blazer is actually a Momentum Friendship blazer. But, you know, for now it's the name Momentum Friendship blazer.
Pull us into shot, let's have a look at it.
It's actually owned by the people who live the values of this blazer. So we assigned and attached values to this blazer. So we recognise and started recognising people in this country, outside the realm of cricket as well, who actually use sport to unite people. We actually are not an arrogant brand. So Momentum is very humble in the sense that we actually decided to whoever we give this blazer to has the right to pay it forward. So you could actually decide yourself who should actually get it next, and they could just nominate it. We don't ask any questions, because if whoever judges this is owned by the people.
What's the long-term goal here? What are you trying to create? A community of like-minded people with what intention?
With the intention that we actually, you know, forge a relationship with this country and take this country forward with friendships and about families and people getting together. Because that's what actually sport does. And that actually shows the Momentum purpose clearly, because we're there to enhance the lifelong financial wellness of people, communities, and that's the very important point, and companies.
Let me pick up on a couple of other sponsorship issues these days in a very aggressive market. First of all, what do you require of the sports property itself and the players? These days, it is not a passive relationship. The club, the team, whatever it is, has to work for you and with you.
Yes. Momentum, we set ourselves clear objectives in doing that. So, first of all, we wanted to make sure that we actually form a partnership with everybody in cricket. So our agenda is not about the commercial value only, because we know we can easily get that. So therefore, we actually started things like the Ikazi Challenge, which was placed in the way to in Dobsonville. So we started sponsoring the women's cricket, because we wanted to showcase that our values beyond, you know, only the commercial products that we offer, but also, you know, to unite, you know, the nation throughout.
I understand all of that, but ultimately it is about performance on the field. The reality is if the Proteas are not doing well, there is a risk to your brand.
Jeremy, therefore we signed a 6-year deal, because we believe that the Proteas can win the World Cup coming January, February in Australia.
Well, that is one thing that you and I will both agree on. Dani van den Berg, thank you very much indeed, head of brand at Momentum.
Thank you.
Now, finally this week on the programme, comics as a form of media. It might be a niche, but it packs a powerful punch, as you're about to see. Just for the uninitiated, where are we and who are all these people behind us?
Okay, we are at the Homecoming Centre in Cape Town. This is Open Book Comics Fest. It's one of the parts of the Open Book Festival. All the people that you see here are local artists, and local doesn't mean Cape Town, it means Durban, it means Port Elizabeth, East London, so Johannesburg. People from all over South Africa are here to show their work.
And what type of work, Moray, are we talking about?
We've got a whole lot of different type of comic books. We've got fantasy, sci-fi, we've got superheroes, we've got kids comic books, we've got more serious literature type of comic books, we've got Zions, and we've got a whole lot of artists as well.
And give me a sense, if you would, of the demographic here. Who are the people that actually engage with this activity? It's a huge activity worldwide. I know Comic-Con in the United States is something we can talk about in just a moment. But principally, who's interested in this kind of thing?
Just looking around the place, it seems like everybody's interested in it. You've got very young kids, you've got mid-teens, young adults, older people as well. There's basically something for everybody.
Yeah. And it also tells me that we're rich in talent as far as this particular sector is concerned. Is that true?
That's definitely true. We compare favorably with the rest of the world, definitely.
What do you think makes a great comic illustrator?
Somebody who's consistent, somebody who has a good story to tell, somebody who understands the visual communication part of doing a comic book.
But more than anything, having had a walk around here, I'm also sensing that you've got to have a vivid and a very powerful imagination.
Definitely.
Absolutely, yeah.
100%.
How difficult is it for a person to actually make a living out of this? I'm sensing that the talent is there, but in order to get published, in order to actually make a living out of this, that's a completely different story, isn't it?
That's a completely different thing. We do have a couple of internationally published authors, artists here, but for your general artist, it's a very long and hard slog to actually get there. You have to do freelance kind of normal illustration work and supplement your comic book habit
before you become famous.
Before you become famous that way.
Interesting, you refer to it as a comic book habit. It's deeply ingrained in people's lives. As you say, it's addictive. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think people love stories. People love seeing the world through different eyes, and it's such a good way of combining your text and your images, and I think that's what really connects with people.
I've also looked at some of the stuff here. There's a lot of deep and powerful social commentary.
Yeah, comic books, its very nature is to deliver a message. Your message might be entertainment, it might be social commentary. So yeah, we definitely excel at that in South Africa. The social commentary and political commentary is very strong in South Africa.
I think sometimes we also forget, if you look back at the days of the struggle, how important illustrative art and comic work was at that time. Maybe that's something, Moray, that we've forgotten about.
I don't think so. I think we still have a very strong culture in that. We've got very talented cartoonists in South Africa that still take on the big guys, and they still manage to win the battle of the people's hearts and minds where they work.
It's an interesting point, because it's not just the Zapiros, but it's a discipline which spreads to a lot of other people who are making those same powerful and compelling points. What about Comic-Con in the United States of America? Are we? You're a visitor.
Yeah,
you've done that. Try and share some of that with me. I mean, that is massive in scale, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gigantic. It's very difficult to comprehend the size of it. About 250,000 people go to that event.
A quarter of 1,000,000 people.
Yeah. And it's not people from the city specifically, it's people from all over. There's some ridiculous stats about how much money the city makes in that time period around the whole popular culture thing. But it's not just comic books, it's also gaming, it's also movies, it's television.
Sure.
It's become massively known for that part of it.
It's become a media hot point, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Is that something we could emulate in this country, or are we still far from that, do you think? Is that your big vision?
I think that's very close to happening. I think a little bit of organization, and we could have something as big as that with an international contingent of artists and writers coming to it.
All right, Moray Rhoda, thank you very much indeed. This is a man with big dreams. The two of us now are going to put the microphone down. We're going to take a bit of a wander and look at some of the astonishing work that's on display here at the Homecoming Centre in Cape Town. All right, just to remind you, Mags on Media on Twitter 24/7. We also have an active and critical Facebook community. You should log on, have a look, and join in the conversation. Until next time, goodbye to you, and thank you for watching.